All right, Alec. It's time. It's time.
Yep.
We spun the wheel last
Yeah,
week for the
we
series
did.
called Chance Time, where
Yeah.
we spin a wheel and it determines what movie we're going to review the following week. And we're here to follow up on that. And we watched Viking Warrior Women on Disney Plus. Not really so much like a film. It's like more like a TV movie. It felt like, right? That's probably how it was intended. Like,
Possibly.
because there was like commercial breaks in it built
There
into it.
were commercial breaks. Wait, hold on. Did we watch the same one? Please tell me we watched the same one.
Well, if you
I
went on
watched a
Disney
documentary.
Plus, yes,
I went on Disney
it's
Plus.
the only one
Is
on
it so
Disney Plus.
okay? Okay, good. Because it's like it's not a movie. It's a documentary, and it's a
Yeah,
very, very, very poor one. I will say that.
yeah,
Um,
it's not great.
it it pretty much breaks every rule that someone who's studied history you
Oh,
try to not do.
what's
As
that?
in coming at basically the whole thing feels like a hit piece where it's like coming at it with this preconceived notion that all of archaeology hates women, especially in the Viking world. Um,
Well, I
and
wouldn't say I would go that far.
that just seemed very that's
It's
sort
not that
of
they hate
that's
women.
kind of
They were just emphasizing, for sure. They drill, even like the first 10 minutes. It was like we believe it. She was like, it was like this is a big hook. Like
yeah,
these Viking remains are actually a woman, and it's like
yeah,
dramatic. And then it would
yeah.
like a couple minutes later, it would be like, but are these truly? It's always been assumed that they were the remains of a male Viking, but are they really? Boom.
They were really hammering that home, weren't they?
It's like um, big emphasis on like it being a shock, and it actually was not much of a shock to me.
No,
It was not. It
no,
was
not
not like it was not like whoa. And there, she kept saying this is like really changes everything we thought we knew about Vikings. You know.
so.
Uh,
This is. I will say there's a gap in some of my historical knowledge. I'm not all up to snuff on Vikings. What I can tell you is that I am pretty certain in both primary and secondary sources there are both in mythological tales as well as in actual like accounts of battles and such. There is evidence or recountings of women going to war with men. The big deal about the Burka Viking discovery is the fact that there's so much like regalia and like goods and stuff buried with it. So that does make it come across as more of a big deal. Like maybe she was a lot more wealthy. Maybe she even commanded people. So like that's kind of a bigger deal.
mhm.
So and I will say, as somebody who again I'm not like overly involved in like historical archaeology and stuff, but like I can't say that people do get kind of a little bit set in some of their ways in terms of like how to interpret or how to um when some evidence it comes forth to sort of revolutionize or change even the preconceived not preconceived notions, but what has always sort of been established. There is a lot of resistance from the old guard, especially even in archaeology, even in something as like the science of history, which is
Mhm.
archaeology. Um, there's definitely some resistance to change and new theories and new interpretations, but um, I it's just this was just so interesting to me because it's like while that is revolutionary, like that's big. That's a big find. That's very interesting, and it does sort of
Mhm.
like it does sort of be like, well, we should be on the lookout for more sites like this. Unfortunately, what they then decide to do is that they then decide to go to all these different like sites to be like, well, let's prove it then. Let's prove that these Viking warrior women are like, and these other sites are like. While I was watching it, I was like, this could be like 6 different things I'm thinking off the top of my head, and not just a Viking warrior woman. This could be like any number of things that you're not even giving any credence to or thought. So that's
because you're looking
always
specifically for that.
Yeah, it's always kind of the problem with a lot of these, like, they come at it with a preconceived notion, and then they just are like looking specifically for that, and any sort of like fraction of evidence that might suggest like towards that theory, they're like, well, here it is, here we go, and no one wants to believe us. And it's like,
Right.
okay, but you got to do really the hard science with it. Like, it's the archaeology is slow and boring. So but yeah, anyway,
the thing with a military commander, like her being potentially a military commander, that is interesting. That's significant, but it's not significant enough to me. It's not like a shock like she's making it seem to me, because I've always been under the impression that Viking women were pretty badass, a lot of them. And there's like some strong Viking women that were known to be strong, like tough at the very least. And so it's not like blowing my mind that they're in this position and they keep hammering it. It's like saying the same. There was like, I kept noting, it was like repeatedly saying basically the same thing. And even when it seemingly came to a conclusion, like, this is a woman, she's still like trying to get some intrigue out of it. Like, is it really a woman? Oh my God, it might actually be a woman. Like, and then it's like, oh, the pelvis. Here we go. We got the pelvis. Yeah. It's a wide pelvis. So we got it. And she's like so happy with herself whenever she finds out there's more of an indication. This one's a female.
More
Maybe
evidence,
this one's a female. And sent shock through the archaeology world, I tell you what. But their question from that point on is, how many others could have been wrong? If this one was wrong, how many others could be wrong? And it since they're on this little adventure, which is not... I found myself asking every time, like, she kept bringing up random, like, experts. So it was like, here's this blacksmith who's going to make this weapon for us. And then now here's this...
Yeah, those are so strange.
Here's this top, like, female warrior fighter. I don't know exactly what she did, but she's, like, a strong woman. And then here's a top archer who's a woman, and they're gonna like test these, and we'll know for sure if they can kill something. And what I'm thinking to me is like, that was never a doubt in my mind. If you see, you got arrows like, there. What are the arrows there for? It's like, you need to test these to make sure that a woman could actually kill with them, and not just a man.
So they're not ceremonial arrows.
Yeah, here's a woman shooting the arrow, proving that women too can shoot arrows and kill someone, do damage. And it's like, here, I'm a measly, I'm not a fighter, and look at me use this axe on this pig skin. And now watch her, she is a fighter. So, she does even more damage. Yep, if she could do it, they could do it thousands of years ago. The Vikings too. I'm like,
right, but that's the whole thing.
A lot of fluff to me.
That's the whole thing of why it's kind of so silly, because it's like, yeah, because they even are like, well, yeah, men do kind of have overall, like on average, have the advantage over women, but that's why women would have used bows on the battlefield. And it's like, yeah, no shit. It's like, of course.
It's like, we never considered this element, and then it all comes together. It's like, oh, the horses and the arrows. It's like little. It's like we're children. It's like we're piecing together what everything means. By the end of it, we figure out, oh, she's a bow rider, a horseback bow rider. And like, yeah, I mean, I could have told you that just from looking at it. It felt like, to me, like it was a 45-minute thing. It felt longer than that watching it. And it did. So much of it felt like unnecessary. I was not really interested at all. I was not like intrigued about the next thing. It's like, okay, now we got this random new expert doing this thing for the heck of it.
I loved the Forged in Fire stuff, which is that's a TV show. I don't know if you've ever seen that show.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's a show basically like a bunch of like amateur / semi-professional blacksmiths. Like, they get together and they do like a competition. It's basically a little competition show they have on the History Channel, and they're supposed to like forge sort of like traditional weapons. Like each whatever, but each show is like a different thing they're supposed to do or whatever. And each show is always a different like cast too, or a different like contestants, whatever. and yeah, they always have like the kill test, which is like that's what the pig thing when it was like,
Yeah.
can this thing cut? Can it like cut through flesh? Can it kill? It's like, oh yeah. It's like, yeah, this thing can kill. I'm like, this is just like forged in fire. It's like, what is this?
Like random little tidbits were kind of interesting. I kind of like the little anecdote from the blacksmith who's like, I always tested on my arm hair. He's like, I do this with every weapon, you know. So by the end, if I have a busy day, I'm struggling to find arm hair, you know. By the end of it,
yeah, you gotta move your leg hair then at that point.
I'm like, okay, that's fun, I guess. But so personally, not even just that, I actually disliked how the documentary was filmed. The color, it was like desaturated.
Yeah. What was that? I hated that too. I was like, you're going to some of those
to watch.
You're going to some of those beautiful places like in the world. You're flying over, and it's just like dreary and drab, and
exactly.
I
wrote down that exact word, dreary. It's like a green hue and everything. It was really not good to look at. Even just the people talking, it was like you could tell there was a weird colorization going on there.
Yeah, I didn't. Did they forget to set their like? Did they forget to reset the white balance or something? That's kind of like sometimes what it felt like. It was, yeah.
I just felt like they were making a lot out of nothing for me, and it just didn't. There was not much intrigue there. You know, when you like right out of the gate, you're establishing pretty much. It's pretty clear, like you know, this is a female Viking warrior, and so then the intrigue is like out the window. It's not like the whole time we're like, is it a female? Is it not? It's like we know this is a female one. So now from here, let's see if we can find a couple more. Just like a couple random other places she wants to go.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now I'm going to go to this site, and we're going to
like
reconstruct digitally using cutting edge technology. I'll tell you what. It's cutting edge.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, like, man, I was going to go somewhere with one of those things you said. I don't remember what now.
Yeah, just overall, like, even like the little interactions, I didn't find her to be particularly interesting as like a person presenting it. And
she came across sort of like smarmy and self-satisfied, and it was very like
kind of. I got that.
Yeah,
too.
I just didn't really like her general attitude. It was like, oh, this was what I was thinking of. Basically, what you could have done, you could have made this whole thing on like the history of the Burka Viking like thing, because they even talked about like when it was excavated, like, oh, the guy that excavated, he was very precise, but they didn't really go that deep into the history of like what else was found at the excavation or anything else. Like, it could have been more about that. And like you said, maybe they could have built up like the fact that this was like, oh wow, like the end of the documentary is them sort of discovering that this is a Viking warrior woman, quote unquote. And then from then you could maybe have like 5 minutes on like looking at maybe some other stuff. But it's like, yeah, it feels very like fluffy and drawn out and stupid.
And just like her as the presenter, I was like not. I don't know if she mentioned in the beginning, and I just glossed over it, but I didn't know if she had particular qualifications or a reason to be doing this. And then at one point, she is like looking at a skull, and she's apparently the one who first. No one had ever before thought about the dent on the skull's forehead, and she was like, no one had actually made the conclusion that until me.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I don't really buy that for a second. Would mean
maybe this woman was in battle. This is a female, another Viking warrior woman, and she was in battle, and it was like a gnarly hit to the head.
Or she got caught in a domestic, and that's how she died.
Right.
Like that's the thing, is that when you start just like theorizing, like you can think about anything. Like I could be like, she gets smashed in the head by a horse or something. It's like blunt force trauma could be any number of things. Maybe she slipped and her head hit a rock. Maybe she did get attacked. Maybe it wasn't in battle. Maybe it was like a raid or something in wherever she was living. It's like there's any number of things it could possibly be.
Yeah.
It's sort of like when they talked about like the woman that was buried on the shield. And they were like, this has to be a woman. No, warrior woman. No one seems to think it is. And I was like, there's like 6 different things. Like this could be a wealthy woman whose son died in battle and she died soon after, and they didn't recover the body because mass graves are basically how you buried your dead in the battlefield. So they buried her with like some regalia because her son was a decorated war hero, or her husband was a decorated war hero, or her brother was a decorated. I mean, it could be any number of things besides that. Like, well, she was a warrior clearly because she's buried with this stuff, and it's like you're just reducing a whole culture to like snippets that we can be like almost like gotchas. Like, yeah, stick it to the man for just thinking only men can do the tough warrior things, and it's like. But we already know that like Vikings had women do stuff like that. Like that's a thing. Like you have in sources of writings of the contemporary and as well as secondary sources more so, but you have evidence that suggests that yes, women were fighters. Women could fight. It wasn't necessarily a typical thing. Most cultures, particularly in the early medieval period, through most of the middle medieval period, to be honest, women were considered, homemakers. That's a traditional role for women. But there's any number of things that is involved with that. Running a farm is hard. Have you ever tried? You don't have all the evidences of modern equipment. Those women had to be tough if you're working on a farm all the time. Mm-hmm. So it's no wonder they were able to go out into the battlefield. So yeah, anyway.
I mean, that about sums it up. For me, I give it a 2. That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's about where I was at. There's no real value in it, really. I mean, it was just boring, dull to watch, and I mean, I got way more of a kick out of Wolf versus Bear. Let me tell you.
For sure, there was at least like a little narrative there, and it's like, I mean, it's nature, so it's not like we have this thing. It's just like whatever it unfolds, but there was something. This not there.
Yeah, this is like garbage that would come on after like something I'd be watching on History Channel. And it'd be like, oh, cool, time to switch it off.
Right. And I feel like I remember a lot of these like earlier on when I would have like History Channel on or these kind of channels with documentaries on. There would be a lot of these that are just like, all right, well, they're just background. Like I'm really zoned out of this one. Everybody thinks they can just do a documentary, pick up a camera, not even white balance the thing, and then just go out there.
Yeah, it makes me miss the days of when the History Channel was the Hitler Channel. That's all it would be. That's all it was. That's all. Like it was like 24/7 World War II documentaries. Right. It was nothing but. Kind of makes me miss those days a little bit, but.
Well,
this is a Nat Geo.
This is Nat Geo.
The thing about Nat Geo is that this is what I knew going in. Nat Geo's nature documentaries generally pretty great. Even some of their sociology sort of stuff is pretty good. History is where I was like, having read National Geographic, the magazine, I already know kind of. Yeah, I'm not looking forward to this. And unfortunately, I was right. They have a very spotty track record when it comes to that sort of thing, at least in terms of their documentaries. And that's pretty much went to prove case in point right here.
Right.
I hope you guys didn't watch it if you're watching this.
Oh man, one of these we'll get a good documentary. Just random.
I hope so. I do like documentaries. I think they can be fun.
I do too. There's a lot. I really enjoyed my documentary class that I took in college, where we watched a few really good ones. That I still have a few of those on my list of ones that I want us to review at some point. Like maybe for one of my birthday videos or season of giving sometime. I'm always considering a couple of them. There's really good ones out there. And then there's these, there's a lot of these. There's a lot of documentaries, so just gotta look for the good ones. All right, well, thank you for watching. All right. What video would you recommend our viewers watch in the meantime?
Watch us review Wolf versus Bear with Rusty. Check it out.
That's right. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to the channel, like the video, and leave a comment, hit the notification bell, and click the link in the description for our social media. All right?
Okay.